Hey guys, Gerald Leonard here. I'm the Director of Client Strategy at Hawke Media, and today I'm speaking with Derek Brambles. He's a Senior Marketing Manager on our media buying team, and we're going to be discussing all things TikTok. Thanks for joining us today, Derek.
Of course, of course.
Like to kick us off, obviously a lot of people are familiar with, how TikTok has kind of entered the ethos over the last couple of months, over the last year or so. Take it from the high note. Talk to me about some of the brands that you think may see success or may want to consider, looking into, what TikTok can do for them.
So in terms of TikTok, I think it's a platform that pushes for brands to activate their customers. There's a viability on the platform itself that is very unique, and two different elements that are joined together between video and sound itself. There's a lot of unique opportunities from an organic standpoint and an advertising standpoint to activate your users to engage with the content itself in interesting ways, but then also that mirrored the a sort of brand awareness factor for the products themselves. And to kind of break it down is, if, let's say you're a cosmetics company that you want to do something unique and bring your users with a new product, bring awareness to a new product, but not just you want to have like of course on any platform you can have an ad with a call to action, but what's unique about TikTok is that you can do some sort of video creative, some sound creative, where you encourage the viewer to either recreate the ad itself and how they would like to see it or how it works for them personally, which is very unique to the app. And that's obviously, as people know that are on the app, it goes viral very quickly. So it's a great opportunity rather than just not sending, an ad to someone to bring them to your site, to introduce them to a new product, actually get them involved with the product launch itself, or maybe an existing product is extremely unique and extremely powerful.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that you're onto something. During the bit of research I've done on the platform, the kind of secret sauce is certainly a combination of like that virality aspect and then the music component. The recreation aspect is obviously a big thing on the organic side of things. If for brands that are typically frequenting the standard platforms, the Googles, the Facebooks of the world, maybe a little bit of Snapchat. What social platforms that brands, like I mentioned, are that like of those other social platforms, would you say most aligns with like how TikTok's ad suite functions? Is it more like a Google or a Facebook? I'm curious to hear your thoughts there.
Yeah, so it's very much still it's a Facebook sort of it's a very much a paid social sort of platform. It's disruptive for you don't go on TikTok with the intent of going to shop for some sort of a product or a brand. It's very much a disruptive type of platform. So you want to use very unique creatives and that speak to obviously the placements itself, which are 15-second videos with sound on first methodology. But it's definitely more on the paid social side. And the great thing about TikTok is it's a very new platform. In terms of costs are very unique. Obviously, Facebook's been around for a long time, and there's a lot of competition on the platform, whereas there's a lot less competition on TikTok right now. So you can have much lower CPMs in terms of your costs. So you're able to get in front of a lot of users with less budget, or if you stick with the same budget you're doing with like Facebook and bring it over, you're going to get much more impressions, much more reach with this new platform.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, although there's obviously nuances, I typically put Facebook as like in a full funnel type aspect where you can get users at the top of the funnel, at the middle of the funnel, at the bottom of the funnel. Where Google, although there's obviously a big array, is very, very good at converting people at the bottom of the funnel.
Bottom of funnel.
When it comes to TikTok, is there kind of that full funnel approach, or just
Yes.
your knowledge, is it more of a top of funnel? Like I heard you mention CPMs are affordable. Obviously, you want to put your brand or your product in front of a lot of eyeballs. Would you say that it's like a conversion mechanism as well, where you can actually convert people at the bottom of the funnel?
So I think conversions obviously can happen on the platform, but I think that what I've seen success in with brands that I've done it already is more top of funnel. Obviously, it's a very young platform. The technology is going to get better and better with time. But I think at this point, with brands that really want to open up another channel, another stream, especially if their demographic is equivalent to, the demographic that's extremely active on the platform, the 16 to 28, right around that, it seems to be the sweet spot. But very much so a top of funnel. I think it's moving towards building a full funnel kind of platform like Facebook. It just isn't quite there yet in terms of it being a sole driver of your top of funnel, middle funnel, then lower conversion, and reaching that ROAS goal. But it's very much another sort of channel that you can bring in to obviously go to an omni-channel approach. So bring them in through another platform that fall into your other, your other funnels with your Google and your Facebook. I very much recommend having, if your goal is ROAS sensitive and you're a down funnel company like most e-com businesses, of course, bringing that in as another, another tool in your bag is just the best approach for in terms of using it as a platform. I wouldn't think it would be the perfect platform for bringing solely just down funnel conversions, and I'm not going to touch SEM or Facebook. That's definitely not the right choice. It's a blend of all those.
Absolutely, that makes sense. I know that right now, like I said, there's a lot of brands that are aware that TikTok is out there, but I think it's still a bit of an enigma in terms of like how to go about, starting that engagement, or taking a look at the platform. At the moment, can any brand advertise on TikTok, or is there some limitations about who's allowed to, test the platform?
So there's limitations, obviously, with CBD or alcohol products. There's limitations there. So I definitely wouldn't suggest it it's obvious for just because the demographic that's primarily on the app.
Sure.
They're very sensitive to that. And then obviously the company is originally a Chinese company. So it makes it there's even more restrictions because there's how they view, some of those types of brands. So those are the restrictions. Again, I think that there's still, we'll see as time goes on, as if there turns into more like room to breathe with those types of restrictions. But very much so, I think for brands that are their core demographic is that age group, or let's say that's a demographic they wanted to move into to get them, started in the funnel at a certain, at a certain point, and then, kind of nurture that audience for some sort of product pivot in the future. It still can be a benefit that way.
Makes sense. Coming from the agency side of things, obviously we're very cognizant of like what type of dollars are required to kind of hit minimum capacity and actually see success on a platform. For Hawke Media, like we typically recommend that you spend no less than $5,000 a month so that you're not pinching pennies here or there. Is there like a specific budget that a brand should expect or need to have allocated to TikTok to appropriately kind of test the waters? Or is it something that you can kind of set to a couple dollars a day and kind of see what happens?
So again, this all is dependent on, your overall CPA and what bottom funnel KPM you want to see. That being said, I think in broad terms, just to, do a splash on the platform, see what kind of traffic or engagement you get out of it. I would recommend, $3K at the very minimum, just to get a readout on what is happening on, what kind of you can see from getting from the platform. I think there's definitely ability to scale from that, but since the CPMs are lower, you'll get much more bang for your buck in terms of that side. So that's what I would suggest. So another cool thing about it is the social engagement. Most ads get so much more engagement than I've seen on any of the other platforms in terms of comments and shares. So that's something that's very valuable in terms of marketing on the platform as well.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're still unable to do like swipe ups, or like, can you link out on a TikTok ad now?
Yeah, you can link to your what? Yeah, you can. Yeah, absolutely. you link to your call to action can link to whatever product set or your home page or landing page or where you want to send them to. There's a few things that it doesn't uh, you can't like send them, I think, to just your profile on TikTok as of now. I know that there's there's some movement there, but very much so it arrives in your feed, very much like a story ad, and you can very much, hit the call to action and go to the website.
Makes sense.
It's an in-app experience.
Got it. So from the like organic perspective, obviously like the type of content that's on TikTok is unique in its own right. There's some overlap on like Instagram, but it's certainly interesting and unique in its own right in terms of, the virality component, the fact that people are recreating other people's memes, etc. When it comes to brands, thinking about this from an organic side of things, obviously Instagram is a no-brainer. Like if you're a brand trying to sell your product, you're going to need to be on Instagram, even if it's just like as a billboard to represent your product. What would you suggest for brands that are thinking about engaging with TikTok? Is it worth engaging from an organic standpoint? And if so, is there a difference between the brands that may want to test a paid spend, putting their brand in front of several eyeballs, as opposed to a brand that's thinking about trying to take on TikTok from an organic standpoint?
So you should be on TikTok yesterday if your demographic aligns with that demographic. From 1,000% an organic perspective. I think actually there, with the app's popularity, it should sort of be a sort of revolution in terms of how you view the power of your creatives and what they can do for you. It's sort of what I would suggest in terms for companies that are thinking about if they should go from the organic to paid. I think absolutely start with the organic and start creating that content or whichever content you can manage, whatever within budget. And when you do the paid side, definitely invest in, that being a very engagement active experience for the users. But that should be sort of the methodology that you take from there and then totally bring that into all of your other paid social practices. If you're doing a run-of-the-mill creative on Instagram or stories as of now, you should really sort of be rethinking about how you view creatives, and TikTok would be a great place to start, and then it can feed into your other platforms.
Awesome. Sounds about right. Cool. Well, then I think that about handles the questions I had for you today. Were there any other like final notes or finishing notes that you wanted to make on the topic of TikTok?
Yeah, I think obviously it's a very young platform. Everyone's really excited about it, especially, going through it exploded in popularity during the COVID crisis and being quarantined. And it's obviously is only going to gain even more of a user base. So I think the time is now to start dipping your toes in for these brands and these companies. I know that I'm already seeing other companies doing that, and it's going to move very, very fast. So I definitely suggest, if you have been considering it, if your demographic aligns with that, you should have done it yesterday. And if you're serious about your digital marketing and how that feeds your business, TikTok could very much be a part of that.
Yeah, I think there was certainly a time a couple of years ago where several brands, probably several I haven't even thought of at the moment or are aware of, were kind of built on the backbone of Instagram and the fact that it was, affordable to target individuals, and it was still new, and there wasn't overcrowded, and there wasn't too much competition. And I imagine that the same type of situation is starting to play out on TikTok, but it's only a matter of time until we get to see, which brands capitalize on it and what actually ends up being, those levers that you can pull, to drive engagement and drive potential revenue on the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. E-com is more important than ever in this current climate. So the more investment you can do towards your e-commerce site, especially now or yesterday, should be a high priority.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the time today, Derek. Thanks for
of course.
chatting TikTok with us.
Yeah.
We'll again soon.
Thank you.